Ladies and gentlemen.
What's up, you guys? This is Princess Pearl here. Today I am back with another video. You guys, I made a decision. I'm going to call this series Grindworks and Chat. Just because there is Grindworks gameplay going on, and I'm just chatting with you guys, answering some questions you guys have. But, you know, aside from answering the questions, I am just chatting about, you know, the topic we're talking about. I'm just chatting about myself. So with that being said, let's get started. I have another question from one of my viewers. It is related to a new car I got. In case you're wondering, I bought a new car back in March of 2026. It's a 2026 Honda Civic Hybrid Sport Touring trim. And people ask me, why did I choose a Honda? Well, if you watched my last video, I mentioned I used to work at a Honda corporate in my state. So one of the things that played into me wanting to work there is I liked Hondas. My first car is a Honda Accord, a 2017, and it's an EX trim. So I already have the car, and I learned how to drive on that car. It was my first car. I saw, you know, Honda was hiring for a student assistant. So I took the job, you know. And I did leave Honda because I graduated college and I wanted to pursue HR. I was offered an entry-level HR position, so that's why I'm not working at Honda anymore. Would I go back? Absolutely. Honda's a wonderful place to work. And they always host events for the community every now and then. Once in a blue moon, they'll have a car show every 3 months. And I still go to them as, you know, a former employee. You know, I left the company on good terms. I'm still cool with my boss who works there, and she was sad that I was leaving, but she was happy that I'm going to be pursuing my career, and I worked so hard for it in school. You know, she was very supportive of it. To the point where sometimes when I'm in the area, I've gone to visit my old coworkers and my boss. Well, not all my coworkers are there anymore, sadly, but at least my boss is still there. So that little significance of me working there and Honda being my first car, it stuck with me. So that's another reason why I chose my second, basically, car to be a Honda. I bought it brand new from the dealership, mind you. And also I could talk about that too. You know, how is the experience of buying a car as a female? What are some tips and tricks? But that is one of the reasons why I chose Honda. I also chose it because it has a lot of safety features on it. Honda sensing. Some of the features I like. I do like the feature of a brake hold, where you just, you tap the brake, you hold it a little bit, and the brake holds for you until you tap on the gas again to go. It does really help if you're into city driving. If you are parking, I recommend taking it off while you park, because it can just, you know, be a little annoying. And then there's the lane departure feature. If you're getting out of a lane, whether you're on the freeway or you're on the street, it puts you back into the lane. It also will brake for you if you're too close to the car in front of you. It's very safe. And if you read Consumer Reports ratings, the Honda Civic Hybrid Sport, and what doesn't matter the trim, the Honda Civic Hybrid does rank very high in its safety features. And it would definitely do well in a crash test. Let me see. I'm also looking at other questions. In case y'all are wondering, I did tell people it's a red one, Rally Red. Why did I choose red? Well, I like fun colors. I like colors that stand out. If they had a blue color, I would have chose blue, because my last car actually was a Nissan Sentra, 2006. It was a gift from my husband, because at the time I did not have my own car to drive around, and I didn't want to just depend on my husband my whole life, so he got a 2012 Honda Civic Coupe Sport, and then he gave me the Nissan Sentra, which used to be his car, and I was driving that for a bit. Sadly, she couldn't run anymore. She was getting old, so I had to buy the 2026 Honda Civic Hybrid. No regrets on that. So it's really different from my old car. You know, it's a 2000. I'm going from a 2006 Nissan Sentra to a 2026 Honda Civic Hybrid. Of course, there's a lot of different comparisons about it. Yeah. But yeah, in the Nissan Sentra I had was blue. So, I really like the blue color, but they didn't have it for the car I wanted, so I had to get with the red. The red is the next best. Specifically, I got the Sport Touring trim compared to the regular Sport because the Sport Touring has a bigger screen for the CarPlay compared to the Sport. Second, the Sport Touring has power seats, whereas the Sport has the lever and manual seat adjusting compared to the Sport Touring, which is very, it's power. You could move the seating with power, basically. So that's another reason why I chose the Sport Touring trim over the Sport trim. And yeah, so that's pretty much my car. Okay, so I want to talk about buying a car. So really just depends. If you're thinking about buying a brand new car from a dealership and you're a female, my advice to you is bring a male or two with you. Bring one or two males. Could be anyone. Could be boyfriend. Could be husband. Could be your dad, your brother, your grandpa, your cousin, your nephew. Like bring guys with you. If you could bring like four of them with you. Like honestly. Because yeah, dealerships sadly have the reputation that they want to, when they see a female by herself or with another female, they're gonna try to get, they're gonna try to get something out of you. Like they're gonna charge a crazy markup or MSRP. Well, markup on top of the MSRP. Or they might lie about it. There was this TikTok that went viral. I think it was a couple months ago, sometime last year maybe, where this girl, she went in to go buy a car, and the salesman she was working with, I think it was, I don't know how old the guy was, but he was probably in his early 20s and she was in her early 20s, and he was basically telling her like, hey, like, I can get you a really good deal on this vehicle if you go on a date with me. And she kept rejecting him and saying no. And then he's like, okay, like it looked like he gave up, right, for a bit, but then later on he goes to the back. He says, let me see what the numbers are for this vehicle. And then he comes back and he says, oh, you know what, I just got word in that there's like a $10,000 markup on this vehicle. That's not a coincidence. You only did that after she kept saying no to you on going on the date with you. So that's another thing too, is you just never know how these salesmen can be. Another piece of advice I have is basically to negotiate the numbers over the phone. They're going to try everything they can to get you into the dealership. They'll probably like say something like, oh, you want to come in and test drive? Because why are you going to buy a car that you don't know if you like yet? Or you don't like how it drives yet? They're going to do that just to get you inside the dealership. And if you do go to the dealership, I want to also give you a third tip, which is expect to be there at least the whole day, negotiating or going to different dealerships to get the best deal. But try to do it on the phone if you can. That's my recommendation. We get they have to make a buck, but sometimes some of them are just willing to like push you to the edge to come into the dealership and buy the car yourself. But if you could really just try to work it out over the phone, that's even better. But if you like to just go in person, test drive it, do what you got to do, then by all means do that. And always make sure you read everything before you sign anything. That's the most important part as well. If you're able to and you have money or you have some sort of legal protection, I would take the contract of the car you want to buy and have an attorney look at it as well. That's another recommendation I do have if you want to buy a car. And in case y'all are wondering, the average car payment of today is about $700. So yeah, but as a female, take a male with you. And don't be afraid to ever walk away from a deal. Like if it's generally something you can't afford, don't let them pressure you at all. These next set of questions are more for like funsies. I got asked a question if I'm a morning person or night owl. I would say I'm a morning person. So that might surprise a lot of people. But like, I really do love sleep. And honestly, I do go to sleep early. I'm kind of like unk status at this point. So, and because of that, because I love sleep so much, I do go to sleep like around 10-ish, 10:30 p.m. And then I like to wake up early because not only am I used to it because of work, but also because when you go to places early, there's like rarely any people wherever you go. Except for the gym. I mean, if you go to the gym, even if you go early in the morning, like there's people there still, but if you like wake up early to go to like to the grocery store or to Target or something like that, there's rarely any people. So I am more of a morning person, and someone if I could choose one skill to master, what would it be? For me, it would be singing. I really wish I was a good singer. I generally wish I could sing, and I can't. But yeah, I was in ninth grade choir actually, because I needed an elective, and that was pretty much the only elective that was interesting to me. It was either I take that or I take sign language, and I was like, I think I'll just do beginning choir. And we all sang pretty well. We had like a concert or two in that school year. And then that was my freshman year of high school. When I got to senior year of high school, we I was in advanced drama, and my drama teacher was putting on a production of the Wiz, at our high school. And the difference between the Wiz and the Wizard of Oz is the Wiz is more of a modern type of version of the Wizard of Oz. Like, instead of Dorothy going back to Kansas, it's Dorothy going back to, at least in our world where we did the play, was Los Angeles. So my drama teacher was putting on this production, and I think he noticed there wasn't a lot of participation of students that wanted to audition. So he told us, hey, I want everyone to audition for this play I'm putting on, and it's part of your grade. So we had no choice. A lot of us were like, oh, but he says, yeah, I want you guys to audition, and we would spend some of the class time getting ready for it. So I actually did train for it. I sang a little bit, and he said, hey, I like how you can hold a tune. He told me that at the audition. And then after that, he made me an ensemble, basically, as basically an extra, basically. And I had to like just do a little bit of backup vocals for the main characters that sung. Like Dorothy, the Cowardly Lion, the Tin Man. Yeah, trying to think who, and the Scarecrow. Oh my, I was like, I blanked out for a minute. Like, I'm a Wicked fan. I don't remember everyone's names. Let's see. And then someone asked me, what's my favorite movie? So, a movie standalone is The Great Gatsby. And I also read the book as well. But my favorite movie of The Great Gatsby is not the older version, but it's the Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio Gatsby version. They have such good energy and such good chemistry with each other. And of course, they're like best friends in real life, but The Great Gatsby has significance. It's not just about a guy that wants his girlfriend back, his girlfriend from 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. It's about him. It's how do I explain it? It's more just about the fact that I don't think Gatsby loved Daisy. I just think he loved the idea of her being back in his life. But at the end, everyone was upset that Daisy went back to Tom, even though Tom did cheat. But it's more the idea that Tom not only had wealth, but he had popularity, and Gatsby had none of that, sadly. And it's crazy because another symbolism is that Gatsby threw all these parties for Daisy to come back, which, she never did. She never waltzed into one of his parties, but the fact that he threw all these parties, he had all this money, opened up his mansion to everybody in town, just for them to not come to his funeral, really goes to show you, like, you could have money, but it doesn't mean, like, you're popular, Which is the opposite with Tom. Tom had both. And I'm sure if he passed away, if it was him that got shot, he would have, everyone and their mother would have came to the funeral. Whereas Gatsby, no one came to his funeral. In the film, no one came to his funeral except for Nick Carraway. But in the book, if you never read the book, it's actually Nick Carraway that came to the funeral, followed by Gatsby's father, and then Owl Eyes, basically, is the nickname we have for him. So that is my favorite standalone movie. Now, in terms of if do I have a favorite movie series? I do. That one for sure is The Hunger Games, which also ties into my favorite book series is also The Hunger Games. It's funny because when the movies first came out of The Hunger Games, I watched them. I watched all the way up to The Ballad of the Songbirds and the Snakes. And then that's when I read all the books. I read like the Hunger Games book in middle school, but I don't remember it. And I don't think I even finished it. But then, now that I'm an adult, I basically read the whole series, including the new book, Sunrise on the Reaping, which I'm very excited for the film, by the way, coming out in November. That one for sure, like, is the type of movie where I would go by myself and watch it, or I would leave work early and watch it. You know, by myself type vibe. But my husband wouldn't like that. He doesn't like me going to the movies by myself. But yeah, if you need some friends to go to the movies with to watch Sunrise on the Reaping in November 20th, hit your girl up. But anyways, so obviously the books are always more in depth compared to the movies. So it was very interesting rereading all the books. Sorry, not rereading. Rewatching all the movies after reading all the books and just seeing it from a different lens, you know? Especially with Ballad of the I think my favorite Hunger Games movie out of all of them is Catching Fire is my first. And then my second favorite, I would probably say, is The Ballad of the Songbirds and the Snakes. Because when you watch the movie The Ballad of Songbirds and the Snakes, when you watch the film, you think that Snow actually is in love with Lucy Gray. But in reality, he's not. When you read the book, it actually opens up your eyes that he actually was not even in love with her to begin with. He was just very possessive of her and controlling and manipulative. And it's gross, you know? Yeah, the film will basically have you in this perception that he's in love with her and, you know, all that. Like, and it's normal for someone his age to be in love with a girl at his age, but in reality, it's just all about control. And it's crazy how we see those early characteristics early on, you know, as a teenager, and then that's how he becomes to what he is, how he became today, a president of Pan Am, you know? Now, do I have a favorite standalone book? Right now, I don't. I only have a series, and that would be the Hunger Games series. Yeah, so I just finished reading all the books. I am probably going to reread Sunrise on the Reaping again, though, just to get ready for the film in a couple months. But aside from that, I really do like The Hunger Games, and I kind of wish as a child, I wish I read more, but when I got to high school, being in AP English Literature and AP English Language helped me like motivate myself to read books. So I do have to give, you know, some props to school for that. Thank you, school. I had a love-hate relationship with school, but yeah, you know, in a way I did learn a lot of new things. Okay. So, yeah, so we talked about my favorite book, my favorite movie. I'm trying to see what other questions. Okay, so people also ask me about my streaming journey. So people ask me about my streaming journey. What made me want to start streaming? What made me want to start creating content? Well, let's start with the streaming part. So, one random Tuesday night, I was just in my room thinking about life, sitting there. And I remembered for some reason Toontown. Toontown just came to my mind. I remembered Coach Zucchini and his crazy videos. So that was one thing. So I just thought, you know what? I'm going to get back on Toontown. I made an account and I started playing again. And then I was like a few days in, and then I realized I saw a tuning game, and they had like a little pop up that says like, oh, live on Twitch. And they dropped their username, and I was like, okay, so I just downloaded the Twitch app, I made an account, and then I basically just saw them live, and I'm like, this is pretty cool, like, you're streaming this? Like, I feel like I would want to stream this too, you know? So, yeah, I just started streaming. I didn't have any type of equipment like I have now. I don't have no microphone. I didn't have a microphone. I didn't have a camera. I didn't have a stream deck. I didn't have a mini stream deck. I didn't have a second monitor. I didn't even have a PC. I was just doing it off a laptop with just a pair of Apple earbuds, and that was my streaming basically. So I did that for about 9 months, and then eventually I maxed TTR, Toontown Rewritten, and I was like, I feel like I need to do something different because I don't know what else to do after TTR. I could just do Toontown Corporate Clash. But at the time, I wasn't interested in Corporate Clash for some reason. It just wasn't like, eh. Like, this is a game that I want to do, like, right now. So then I started, like, exploring other games. I went and looked up, I think, yeah, I just started exploring with different games. I think Among Us was on my list as well. And then eventually I was able to start streaming on my stream with my capture card. I eventually got a capture card and started doing games for my Nintendo Switch. And then I transitioned more into the simulator games. And, you know, throughout those 3 years, I started upgrading my setup little by little. I eventually moved out. Well, when I first started streaming, I was living in with my mom. I eventually moved out of her house like a year and a couple months into streaming, and then I moved in with my husband. We did a little stream setup in our bedroom, and the rest is history. Now, in terms of what made me want to start creating content, during the time of COVID, and we were all isolated under quarantine, we couldn't go out. I just naturally made a TikTok account. Not only was I like just watching TikToks, but I also would do little skits and make videos, and I started getting some traction, a little bit of attention. So I kind of made that like my thing during COVID for sure, was making TikToks and doing skits and like trying to be relatable in a way. But then it was once I started streaming that I kind of stopped doing that. And then I started making like a series of driving videos. Just giving out like a Bible verse per day. I started making these driving videos with Bible verses, and then that kind of stopped because I was balancing stream and doing these videos. And then now every now and then I'll make a TikTok of like some sort of like event I go to or a place I go to, I visit. Once in a blue moon it'll be my gaming clips, but I mostly put my gaming clips on YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels. So there's really just a difference between being just a streamer and then there's a content creator. And people choose to just do one or both. I feel like, for me, if you're just streaming, you're just clicking the go live button on Twitch and you focus on making clips on Twitch only. But if you really want to grow, you definitely want to push your clips over to other platforms, which it took me a long time to start doing that, but I eventually started doing it now. But it's kind of hard. I'm learning how to balance my job, my life, my health with this content creation journey that I'm on. Which is why I only refer to myself as like a part-time content creator, because I still have a full-time job I'm balancing. And I still have my marriage. I have my marriage. I have my family, I have like my personal stuff I'm dealing with. Everyone has stuff that they're dealing with, but I definitely just want to keep the content creation, like, for sure part-time. And, if something, if it's meant to be, it'll be. That's, like, a little saying I have in life where, things will fall into place, like, at the right time, right place, right time. And that's how I feel about the content creation journey. It's like, well, if I blow up, and I get all these followers, get all these subs, and get all these revenues, I have brands I want to sponsor and donate. It's like, and if I make enough where I can cover my expenses, then sure, I would definitely quit my job, like HR. Would I quit HR? Yeah, I would. But, I feel like anything's possible. Not saying that I wouldn't blow up, but not saying I would either. You just have to be lucky. So I did want to mention too that this question, also they said, love your content and streams so much. Whoever you are, thank you so much. I am glad you're enjoying my content and streams. And of course, let me know if I can do anything better. The second part of this question, there's a two-parter. So it was, what inspired you to start streaming? How did you get into the content creation part? Second part is, what is your favorite Toontown memory? So you guys, I did want to let you know, so I grew up on Toontown Online. My cousins got into it first. And at the time, the only marketing that was really around that, at least from what I remember from my childhood, was the commercials on TV. So I know that's where my cousins got the inspiration to play Toontown from. And then I copied them, basically. I started playing Toontown. And, it was from there. And I think I got up to a good, like, I don't remember what my laugh was, like 56. But all I remember is I was already on the little old man task. And I never finished it because I took, like, a hiatus. And then that's when it shut down in 2013. So, yeah. So they asked me, what is your favorite memory? That is a good one because I've had so many memories, not just with Toontown Online, but also with Toontown Corporate Clash and Toontown Rewritten. But, okay, I guess I do have a memory, and in a sense, it connects with real life, you guys. So, funny enough, one of my very first friends that I met on Toontown Rewritten, that also, became one of my friends, a consistent viewer on my stream as well, was my friend named Sheriff, who I actually met in real life too. And I can tell you the story of how I met him in real life. But basically, his full name on Toontown is Sheriff Lancelot Zobelwolf. And you guys may know him, may or may not know him. If you've been part of the OG Pearly since I started, you guys will know him. But if not, I'll post a picture right here. Right? So that's us. And then I'm also going to put the picture of us in real life. So we've had a lot of good memories. We've done a lot of bosses together. He was there for almost every single boss that I maxed, right? And I was there when he maxed CEO. So now I want to skip over to how we met in real life. So, we got close in the friendship that we added each other on Facebook. So I saw in his story, I took a trip out to Las Vegas, Nevada with my father, having some father and daughter time. And then I saw he was out there for a business trip. And I said, hey, like, you're in Vegas? Like, what? He's like, yeah, I am. And I'm like, I'm also here too. I sent him a photo, like, of this, of, the view. He's like, oh, shoot, you're here too. Like, we got to meet up. Like, yeah. Because he said he's from New Jersey. So he told me that, I'm only going to be here for a day. And then I have to go back to New Jersey. I'm only here for a business trip. I'm like, okay. Yeah, and he was here with his dad too. Because him and his dad, they have their own business. Well, technically, it was his dad's business first, and then, it passed down to him, the son. So, but they were still tag teaming it a little bit before his father retired. So, he was like, I'm here with my dad, we're trying to find a way around. He was a little lost. So I said, okay, like, let's meet at this spot, public big shopping mall, and let's meet up, and, we'll help you find your, where you need to go, So I told my dad, hey, Dad, like, Sheriff is out here, in Las Vegas. Like, we gotta meet up, hang out, He's like, yeah, that's fine. And I told him, like, yeah, he needs help finding, where he needs to go. He's like, and his dad is here too. He's like, okay, yeah, let's go help him. Like, let's meet up. So yeah, we met up at the spot, we helped them out. And that was really a really cool moment that you just never know, like, what life has in store for you. And it's crazy how, like, this game, like, this MMORPG game can just really connect people in such a crazy way that sometimes the universe can't even explain. So it was crazy how we were just in the same state at the same time, and it's like we had time to, like, meet up and reconnect and vibe with each other, like, because we were already like close friends even before we met in person, but just meeting in person, like, was the cherry on top. So that is honestly my favorite Toontown memory. Is the friendship had such a big impact. The friendship in the game had such a big impact on my life, to the point where the timing was just so coincidental that we were able to meet up with each other in real life. So yeah, you guys. And that also brings me to my second point. I'm finding out one of my other friends, Jinxie, moved houses, and she lives 10 minutes away from me now. So me and her are neighbors. So you just never know, like, when the universe wants your internet friends to be like near you. You just never know. So there's that. That was it for that question. So now that we were talking about Toontown Online, I do want to talk about that because Toontown Online was a very strange time for most of us. In the time that I played Toontown Online, I was not even a teenager yet. I was like 8 to 10 years old. I'm going to be real with y'all. And there were people on my age, including my cousins, who were already on Toontown. But it really goes to show you, like, even in today's world, you have to be super careful who you talk to and, like, who you get close with on the internet. So if you haven't played Toontown Online, or you've probably heard of the rumors, but I want to confirm that it's true. There were the Toontown marriages, Toontown relationships were a very real thing, and I was actually a victim of this. I want to confirm it's not it's a legit thing. So I want to talk about it. I was in a Toontown relationship first, and then I was in a marriage. And it's crazy because I was only 9 or 10 years old at the time. And y'all are probably wondering, where are my parents? Well, my dad knew about it. He wasn't happy about it, of course. I've had tunes, in the game hit on me, not knowing I was 8, 9, 10 years old, right? But I'll get into that right now. So, I do have some honorable mentions though before I go deep dive into that. I'm actually running out of time here, so I will save the Toontown relationship and marriage story for the next video. But I really want to give a quick honorable mention to these two friends I had back in the Toontown Online days. I still remember. One of them is Dizzy Poodlebrains, W Dizzy, and then a brown dog named Mac, who I actually became Facebook friends later on with, and a little bit later on. I did check recently. We're not friends anymore on Facebook, but it's okay because I did check and I see he's happily married and I'm happily married. So, we just drifted apart, but it's okay. I wish, I hope Mac is doing very well in his life and marriage, and same with Dizzy Poodlebrains. And yeah, you guys, thank you guys so much for listening in, and tune in for the next video where I will talk about Toontown Online, my relationship and my marriage. So that'll be a crazy story. Bye, you guys.